Hi everyone, forgive the washing in the background. Well, it's drying actually. I should really pause that, but life continues, I guess. I wanted to come online to talk about Annie Kaspar, whose death I got news of today. I already did a video dedicated to her, basically saying to rest in power and to thank her for everything that she's done. And she fought hard. She really fought hard. I'm going to find a post now that she wrote back in February, and she tagged as many TIs as she could in it. She tagged me, she's tagged a lot of other TIs as well. We'll see if I can find it. It's going to take a while. In the meantime, whilst I'm looking for this, I'm kind of viewing my own rants online, and not even just my own rants, but I see a lot of people doing what I do and, basically venting about, the targeting, and venting about the electronic torture, and venting about, venting about the community stalking, venting about how psychiatry has done them wrong. And there was a part of me that was judgmental about it because I was seeing it through the lens of people who not only didn't understand, but didn't want to. When I play, I'm getting this from Game of Thrones, by the way. So yeah, you can call me out on that. But when I want to think of people's motives, I play a little game with myself. I assume the worst. What is the worst reason that people could have for seeing that somebody is in distress, obvious distress? What is the worst reason that they could have to ignore you, to dismiss you? And it hit me. People don't care. And they don't want to do anything about it unless there's real risk to them. They don't care. And the whole time you're the one being tortured, you're the one in desperate need of help. And the more in need of help you are, is the more in need of help you become, which means that instead of people doing the right thing and coming to your aid, instead you're having to deal with, in Annie's case, bleeding from her breast where she had a mastectomy, bleeding from her breast, deep vein thrombosis, cancer all over her fucking body, and still not getting the help that she needed. So she's in a position where she had to be strong, not only for herself, not only for other TIs, but also for people who didn't know and didn't want to know because they didn't fucking care, and they weren't strong enough, and they didn't have the guts and the moral courage to stand up and say, you know what, this lady needs help. This lady needs help. This has gone far enough. We need to stop this electronic torture. I've got people right here in Brighton that I can't fucking use. I've got a whole Stop the War campaign. I should be able to go over to them right now and talk about how electronic torture is being used right here in our communities. I don't feel safe to. Hell, I could have done that back in London. Back in London, they have an even bigger Stop the War movement than they do down here. But let me go over to them and talk about how ordinary people are engaged in the same Zersitzung tactics that the Nazis used. Let me turn around and tell them that not only do they have to worry about thermobaric bombs and nuclear bombs, now they got to consider directed energy weapons that are already being used. Crowd control weapons that have already been used. I can't trust them to do it because people, at the end of the day, people, they go down their tunnel and they don't consider what's going on around them. They don't fucking care about what's going on around them, because more than the need to have peace on earth, more than the need to have some sort of global unity, hell, even in the case of some racists, more than having racial unity, what they care about more than anything is feeling like they're right. And because of that, people are being murdered. You ask me or anybody who ain't afraid to fucking say it, Annie Kaspar was murdered deliberately because the proof that she had of what was being done to her, it could have changed a lot. It could have changed so much for so many people globally. And the people who killed her fucking knew that. Let me find this post. Because it's not enough to just have me talk. We got to have Annie come on here and talk too. It's from February. I want to find it from February. And now I'm thinking back to all the texts I sent my family and friends and my community about what was being done to me and the electronic torture. And I'm thinking, people are dying. People are being murdered. And we see people venting online about being murdered and we do nothing. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Let me chill. Let me chill. Has she ranted online yet? Have they ranted online yet? What the fuck is wrong with people? Let me calm down. Let me calm down and find Annie's post from February. Because she needs to speak. It's not enough just for me to speak. She needs to have a voice too. And she's already posted this. But before that, let me get to somewhere in March. Hang on. This is her. This is a post I shared of her. She's bleeding from the scars where she had a mastectomy. Because of the torture that she was subjected to. So this was in San Cristobal, Mexico. So that was in March. Let me find the post from February. I think this was one of her most eloquent posts that she's made with regards to Havana syndrome and gang stalking. And that's saying a lot because Annie Kaspar was a very articulate woman, a very intelligent woman and a very strong woman. So for me to say, oh yeah, this is one of her most articulate posts, that's saying a lot. She was a remarkable human being. She really was. Let me just find her post. The gang stalkers are so fucking lucky. They are so fucking lucky considering what they're doing to us. They're lucky that their psychopathic behavior weakens our bodies and our minds, because if they didn't, they're also lucky that the kind of people who are usually targeted are good, intelligent people. They're very fucking lucky. All right. So she's been asking for support, financial support. I made a video for her. I'm seeing her now. Before I get to the post that she wrote, no, hang on, no. Let me get to the post that she wrote first, and then I can get to her latest video. All right. So this is from the 23rd of February, 2023. Annie says here, to targeted justice, ICATOR, and all affiliated entities allegedly filing class, not personal class actions on behalf of targets worldwide in any jurisdiction. If there are errors in facts, it's because for 7 years in my life, and in too many others, alleged community advocacy leadership has been grossly remiss in their professionalism. However, we all remain committed to just and true remedy for all targeted persons worldwide, and we deeply appreciate integrity, transparency, and all authentic efforts made on our behalf. As all alleged community advocacy leadership knows, in Q12017, I commenced a class action effort on behalf of our beleaguered targets domestically. The effort was given long consideration. However, given my professional and legal experience, my conclusion to commence such advocacy after monitoring for 2 years the horrors targets were enduring and the minuscule positive advocacy results evident to date, I quite unfortunately dove in after almost zero support. After almost zero support, alignment, or even rational composed conversation with purported leadership figures. So she's expressing her dissatisfaction at our leaders, at our targeted individual leaders here, saying that they needed to do more, and they do need to do more if this woman has ended up murdered as a result of targeting. So, given my professional and legal experiences in severe targeting since 1997, and the landmark gender discrimination class action in which I was named plaintiff with very little evidence, this bizarre behavior of alleged leadership was unexpected. I'm actually pointing this out, even though she's talking about the leadership of targeted individuals not being up to scratch. The reason I'm pointing out this post that she made is because it has a lot of important information about her targeting. So I'm going to continue. Please note, I was the first plaintiff claimant to be settled with by both Wall Street giants out of more than 5,000 plus class claimants and plaintiffs. Why? My case was atrocious, and the class-wide evidence proved that fact. That's why I helped commence both those class actions. It was legally near impossible to collect any evidence given corporate contracts most employees had signed. In fact, this is why class actions are formed and pursued. The adversary is immeasurably powerful and exceedingly abusively illegal, as well as often criminal in their crimes and atrocity track covering. From day one, my interaction with alleged community advocacy leadership, my targeting increased. This is why I wanted to actually let her speak on this, because this is important, and I want you guys to listen to this because this is crucial. From day one, my interaction with alleged community advocacy leadership, my targeting increased 20-fold or so. Alleged support referred to me by one of TJ's current named plaintiffs were all sabotage operatives. I think TJ is targeted justice, I'm not sure though. I was hospitalized with radiation poisoning 2 months after effort commencement. True, knowledgeable severe targets are still uncertain about whatever type of legal action has been filed. It doesn't appear after 5 years of selling to potential claimants a class action, TJ's legal filing is yet to be one. What type of action has TJ filed to date, may I ask? Exactly. Names, dates, events, and more facts can be provided immediately to assist TJ in its transparent answer. Rather than be supported, as I was nearly irradiated to death in Florida, I think that's Washington, Arizona, Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma, Idaho. What's MD? I don't know what MD is. State, MD, US state. Maryland, okay. Hang on. Maryland, Iceland, Massachusetts, Mexico, Virginia, North Carolina. I think that's NE. What's NE? NE US state. Hold on. Nebraska, okay? Nebraska, Alabama, and again in Bacalar, Mexico. And then over the last month, as a number of US real hard targets with evidence, timelines, and facts that easily prove our most harsh cases and claims, started to investigate what was legally occurring with targeted justice and Icator, I was nearly murdered again. Really? How coincidental? Wow. Let me hang on. Attempted murder over and over. Even at the University of Virginia Medical Center and its sick-aligned physicians, I was physically tortured at Massachusetts General Hospital, denied adequate and tax-paid for medical insurance, diagnostics, and treatments during the plausible deniability idiocy program run while these vile criminals destroyed my entire body and much more. This was all reported consistently to alleged community advocacy leadership with zero response or often cruel and unusual behavior by a number of current named plaintiffs and many others. What most clinically sane adults would call operatives or perpetrators. Check my metadata if you have any doubts. Current medical records and physical condition, as well as many sources of valid evidentiary data, prove I was irradiated aggressively, head to foot, since originally speaking with Catherine Horton in January 2017. More than 8 tumors are on my skull. My 13-year-old indolent breast cancer was spread massively, then blasted. And then blasted open with EMF, RF, DEW in Virginia, so it had to be removed. An alleged leading physician and nationally renowned robotic surgery specialist nearly murdered me twice in a very small operation, an ovarectomy, after stating my right breast and its artifacts had gone through a material state change that could be attributed to the use of extreme heat or microwaves. Also, all reported worldwide and to alleged community advocacy leadership. Can you please explain why a review of such horrors and evidence was not commenced by purported leadership eager for strong plaintiff and claimant evidence? Hang on a sec. Records exist of the use of ionizing radiation on me in Grand Island, Nebraska, a few hours from Omaha, Nebraska, home of U.S. military and nuclear command. Records of the Department of Defense, CERN, NASA, Navy, limitless corporations, and innumerable research universities and other such organizations hacking my phone and gaining access via my bogon routes were also reported worldwide and to alleged community advocacy leadership, and still no review? May I ask why this evidence and these reports were not reviewed? And then there's the complete report on nearly all material operatives throughout the world with facial recognition, depiction, and more. I could go on, but I'm exhausted by now after severe EMF, RF, DEW, and psychological torture for 5 years. My timeline, evidence, and case indicts not only the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the Department of Defense. I don't know what DOE is. DOE, US. Hold on. Department of Energy, yeah, makes sense. The Department of Energy, the Navy, and about 30 plus US and international research universities and endeavors, but specific national security state criminal networks around the world. Why would such evidence and timeline never be reviewed by alleged targeted community advocacy leadership? Why, as the reports flew around the world detailing like no other case reviewed to date, clearly depicting my torture, severe non-consensual bioexperimentation, and many murder attempts, would not one purported targeted advocacy group leader, especially Targeted Justice and ICATOR, offer no assistance to preserve my life and innumerable invaluable claims? These claims would only assist in success with the entire class. Why would such damning evidence be ignored by all alleged community leadership? How about the evidence of both Marco Rubio and Mark Warner refusing to review my report during the entire HS facade and Havana Syndrome facade and review from 2017 through to 2021, the copious cancers, Havana Syndrome, and now since the last 2+ years of assassination protocol starting in Arizona in 2019, even more cancers, heart diseases, and more? Why no review of such potent class evidence? My near-weekly reporting worldwide, as well as advanced evidence collection given my illegally limited resources due to theft by SSA, IRS under the sure direction of the criminal network with which we contend, was a remarkable feat of survival and collection of major evidence against current defendants and many more. Yet no alleged community advocacy leadership entity, especially Targeted Justice or ICATOR, reviewed or communicated. What? My more than 2,000 reports, sworn statements were all sent. Fuck, Annie, I am so sorry. Like, what the hell is going on? Okay. My more than 2,000 reports, sworn statements were sent to all alleged community advocacy leadership persons or entities and many leading human, civil, and constitutional rights organizations and advocates worldwide. These reports helped Iceland, a very first world WEF type of nation, to be sanctioned by the UN Committee Against Torture. They also alerted the world to vast and vile criminality of these programs. Period. Why in particularly the last 3 years did no alleged community advocacy leadership member reach out to review some of the worst claims ever for potential named plaintiff status to cover the entire class of targets? Those who have reviewed my data, evidence, timeline, and outstanding damages have all concluded my case had outstanding merit for all targets and that it should be a leading claim. However, since I commenced working for the community, hold on, I need to go up a bit. Hold on. However, since I commenced working for the community and became evidently targeted by alleged targeted community leadership and one control opposition operative after another, these ethical lawyers from many of the very best class action firms domestically and internationally would just disappear. Could you please explain why such compelling cases? I'm only one of many targets still alive who have experienced the same with all alleged community advocacy leadership entities persons in nearly an identical manner are ignored, denigrated, or otherwise sabotaged. Currently, other questions for Targeted Justice and ICATOR are you cherry-picking plaintiffs and claimants? And for what specific legal reason? It can't be for most evidence, robust timeline, egregiousness of claim to cover whole class of credibility. The nature of the program is reduction of proof and credibility, but the metadata confirms all. Class actions by their very nature require some evidence from worst claims, but primarily testimony of pattern and practice and commonality of numerous claims. That alone proves probability of intent a judge recognizes to grant class status. Thereafter, class discovery, negotiated and reviewed by experts, determines the likelihood of guilt. Even with claims of EMF, RF, and DEW, then the litigation moves forward or settles. Why would those of us with the most egregious claims in all aspects of targeting with metadata. Sorry, somebody's getting to me live during the video. I'll talk to them in a second. Why would those of us with the most egregious claims in all aspects of targeting with metadata, confirmable testimony, evidence, timeline, and more, perhaps because of all our financial resources have been sabotaged, stolen, or withheld? Financial abuse is a big part of gang stalking. Be penalized, although our cases support a solid, successful class action lawsuit. Why are you choosing plaintiffs who are not fully representative of most egregious claims to protect whole class, after refusing to review these most atrocious claims that only lead to deeper, more extensive class-wide discovery? Forgive my ramble, but we're currently addressing major health issues here in exile caused by the vile, horrific program alleged community advocacy leadership allowed to continue for 5 years now. Aided and abetted, of course, by original criminal network operatives throughout more than 10 US states and 3 countries. It appears beyond illegal 24/7 cyber and real-time surveillance, stalking, harassment, torture, human trafficking, non-consensual bioexperimentation, mutilation, maiming, and attempted murder with myriad cancers, congestive heart failure, have also been afflicted upon me. Just in time for a class action. Yeah, I bet, sweetheart. I bet. If that's what the targeted justice and Nicator actions truly are, I envisioned for the most horrific crimes against humanity ever. How is it that my health has been dramatically negatively impacted over these last 2 pivotal years of legal preparation by exponentially increased targeting, as alleged community advocacy leadership did nothing to assist one of the strongest claims ever for our community? We have many claimants suffering precisely the same in too many evil ways worldwide. And why, as a number of us started simply to ask for clarification of a number of legal action related to targeted justice, did our targeting, especially irradiation, increase exponentially? Why can't alleged community advocacy leadership transparently answer valid questions? No cap? I'm starting to wonder that myself. I'll keep going, Annie. I'm sorry. Fuck me. This woman has been through so much. I can't believe how much this woman has gone through, and they've done nothing. Annie continues, our last, for now, but not least questions to targeted justice are: why was the legal structure of the purported charitable entity change its status from public charitable entity under the category of lodge after years of collecting public funds under that peculiar tax-exempt designation to private foundation? Oh boy. With increased control by a small number of persons and funders, and markedly less transparency as well as robust TJ leadership, legal liability limits just 3 months or so before legal filing. Oh my God. Rather immediately after Anna Toledo joined the entity. And why thereafter has she allegedly advised claimants to drop EMF, RF, DEW claims because they were too difficult to prove? I have begged Toledo for assistance since 2021, when Virginia was utterly destroying my everything after attempting humanitarian asylum in Iceland. She did nothing. And how does this entity structure status change help the class claimants and not a select cherry-picked few? Why would any able lawyer recommend dropping your greatest leverage claims before the lawsuit actually truly commences? Fuck. More personally, unfortunately, we ask, when and when and where, and why did Anna Toledo purportedly live for a short time in 2016, 2017, and earlier in both Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia, in sweet neighborhoods close to the Capitol, the Pentagon, and DARPA? Fuck. I recall her long, sad, sniffling story of complete and utter destitution in 2021. So similar to my own. My severe targeting started, incidentally, in Puerto Rico as well. Allegedly, she's just fine now. You see, that's a red flag right there. That's a red fucking flag. Allegedly, she's just fine now after an extraordinary level of mysterious financial support and the help of myriad family members. In our prior conversations, those possibilities didn't exist for her. Anna, please answer us. Isn't it odd when wherever we ask for facts from alleged community advocacy leadership members, rarely does a reply occur except in the form of escalated DEW, EMF, and radio frequency, especially if we secure candid, transparent, rational, and logical answers from any alleged community advocacy leadership member, it will literally blow our minds. We, the targeted, authentic targets being murdered, evidently in a highly controlled containment operation handled by creatures from no realm I recognize. Annie with the bars. Annie with the fucking bars. I gotta continue. Check my metadata if you dare think you will further harm me or any real target. Now, thank you for your prompt attention to this most urgent matter. And you see, this is what I'm talking about. Annie ain't playing no games, bitch. She wasn't playing no fucking games. I didn't basically recite it here, but she named these community leaders by fucking name. That alone should tell you how serious this woman was about her shit, and how strong she was, and how relentless she was, and how determined she was. Annie Kaspar was not playing any fucking games, and I'm here for it. Thank you for your prompt attention to this most urgent matter, Anne Kaspar. All metadata confirm authentic targets worldwide. P.S. If anyone ever questions my credibility or word again, I will reveal all details and players. You, dear one, will either be fired as an operative for initiating a massive operative reveal or return to university to secure a true, logical, rational, factual mind. Thank you for understanding. Nothing in this communication is meant to slander, defame, or libel. It is my most sincere wish never to have to write another inquiry like this again. We are in this together. How many millions by now? Enough is enough. Too many have been destroyed, and for what? No more. And mic drop. Mic fucking drop on these hoes. And she did name names, by the way. She named Melanie Vichton. I can't even pronounce that. I'm so sorry. Melanie Vichton, Kate Ryan, Karen Melton Stewart. Now that's interesting. Ramala D, Ella Fraud Free, and many others. So she named names too. You see what I mean about Annie being a powerful, articulate, take no fucking shit type of lady? You see what I was saying with that shit? Annie was on that shit. Okay? She wasn't playing games at all. And she was killed for it. Now, I think that if Targeted Justice or ICATOR are controlled oppositions, I think if they are, then it's very unlikely that they're the only ones involved in murdering Annie. But if what she's saying is true, then they definitely played a part in her murder. There's no way. And again, she's got professional and legal experience. She had professional and legal experience. She doesn't say this weightlessly. None of what she's saying was said weightlessly. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I believe I'm trying to be measured about this, but it doesn't look good for Ikator and Targeted Justice. It does not look good. It does not look good, because she's asked these questions and she did not get an answer to these questions. She said it herself, the whole point of a class action lawsuit is to get the very worst cases together and get compensation for those cases. Her case is among some of the worst shit anybody has ever heard of. And according to this, she's been completely ignored. And not only that, her targeting had gone up to the point where she was murdered. So something isn't right. Something isn't right. Something is very, very wrong. I don't know what. This is exactly what I'm saying. There is evidence, like when it comes to our friends and family members, and even when it comes to people who don't like us, there is evidence like this all over the place. Never mind us and what we have to say. There is evidence of directed energy weapons and microwave weapons and acoustic weaponry all over the place. There's evidence of fucking remote neural monitoring, all that shit, chips, all that shit, all over the place. There is no excuse. And not only do people disregard our experiences, they disregard it with the most embarrassing arrogance. It's humiliating, and not even for TIs, for the people who are arrogant enough to dismiss us, call us crazy, call fucking psychiatry on us, even though psychiatry are actually involved in this military fuck shit. They've been involved in this fuck shit. How do you think the Tavistock Foundation got started? It got started through a colonel who wanted to take the methods of so-called mental hygiene from Nazis and bring it over here to the UK. I often get Lees and Rees mixed up. Yeah, it was Lieutenant Colonel John Lees who basically started the Tavistock Foundation. And the foundation of that foundation was based upon Nazi findings of mental hygiene and mental health. So of course psychiatry is going to be all over it when it comes to victims. And remember what I said before about targeted victims being accused of being paranoid schizophrenic. It diminishes evidence in court, and it especially diminishes evidence of some of the worst cases. Again, these people knew what they were doing. The public have been warned repeatedly, and it is basically dismissed as truth and nonsense. And this is the worst part. The people that I warned, even though I was saying some outlandish things, even though I was saying some embarrassing things that were happening to me, they knew it wasn't a lie. They knew it was real. That's why they got scared and backed off. They knew the shit was real deep down, but it was too much for them to face. They were cowardly and they were weak. But there are so many people who have known of so many people being murdered by this program. They knew and they did nothing to help the situation. In fact, they joined in with the murderers. They joined in with the perpetrators when the perpetrators are not even fucking safe. How many of them do you think have been chipped and irradiated? Same way. I have this theory, and I've always had this theory, that perps were just successful TIs. They were just TIs who became successfully tortured into being the sociopaths and narcissists they are. That's what I believe. I don't have any evidence for that, but that's what I believe, and that's what I've always believed. Perps are just successful TIs, and their flying monkeys are just perps or successful TIs in the making, and that's it. People are being killed en masse over here. That's what the fuck I don't get. What is wrong with people? When one of my family members told me that they were being targeted, in my mind, there was no doubt in my mind they were telling the truth. And not only was there no doubt in my mind, the first thing that I did was I started researching into what this shit was. I think that was the best decision I'd ever made in my life. Because now I understand how weak people are. I understand what I'm surrounded by. And I understand how to prioritize my relationships and to prioritize exactly what I'm trying to accomplish from those relationships. And if you're a targeted individual, that's how you got to handle it. What are you getting out of this relationship? Instead of thinking to yourself, I can't be me, like, on top of trying to somehow help myself in the midst of being tortured and murdered, I somehow have to think of the feelings of people who aren't going through what I'm going through, or who are going through what I'm going through, but don't know or don't care. So you're in this situation. The only thing that you can do is think of yourselves. Instead of thinking about needing every relationship to be on the level of, that they're going to fight for me, they have to fight for me. They're not going to fight for you. The relationships that you have, they're either planted or they've been infiltrated. Nobody is fighting for you except complete strangers on the internet. So the most important thing that you can do is, in every relationship you encounter in real life, what is that relationship doing for you? What is it doing for your finances? What is it doing for your physical health, your emotional well-being? What are these relationships doing for you? That is the only way you as a targeted individual are going to get through this. Because you cannot be tortured and murdered and be a sacrificial lamb to the same system that put you in this position. You got to learn to be selfish. And if there are people along the way who are truly genuine, give them as much love as possible. Give them as much companionship as possible. That's all you can do. Because if you don't, if you trust too much and you trust too deeply, unfortunately, you end up in poor Annie's position, where the second that she, called on leaders that still haven't answered for what's happened to her yet, she ends up murdered. And she was murdered. Now let me read this fucking message from this person on Facebook, because they messaged me whilst I was in the video. Hang on. Do I know this lady? I don't know if I know this lady. I think I've added her. She's not a mutual friend, but well, she is a mutual friend. Or am I friends with her? No, we're not friends. Yeah, we're not friends. Doesn't look like it, but she said here, I'm scared I'll be with Annie soon. I'm getting targeted so bad. Now, again, me and her are not friends, so I'm thinking that she actually got access to this video through a targeted individual group or a targeted group. But I do think, in the context of what this video was about, I do think that was a weird message to send, honestly. But I've resolved to live and die out of spite. out of spite to the gang stalkers, out of spite to the murderers. Whether I'm alive or dead, spite. Pure spite, bitch. Fuck all of you. Fuck you murderers for what you did to Annie. Fuck all of you. And as for you fucking cunts, on my case, looking for a rant to prove your superiority or prove your power or boost morale, you don't deserve that fucking boost. Every single rant I make online, I'm going to make sure that shit hurts. And it will hurt. Because not only will you have to accept the reality that you're targeted just like me, but that you're not only complicit in my murder or facilitating my murder, you're also facilitating your fucking own. Every single rant that comes out of my mouth, I'm going to make sure that fucking shit hurts. Because again, that's mercy. That is mercy on my part. That's mercy on the part of millions of targeted individuals around the world. Cussing your ass out is fucking mercy. Giving you that ego boost of making you feel important from somebody else being upset is fucking mercy. Be thankful that we stop there, you cunts. Once again, my condolences to anybody who loved and appreciated Annie Kaspar. My condolences to Annie Kaspar herself. She was an incredible human being who suffered a lot. I personally regret my part in not doing enough for her. I gave her roses while she was alive. I'm thankful about that, but I don't think that enough was done for her or for anybody like her whose targeting was particularly bad. And for those who are scared you'll end up like Annie, as harsh as this sounds, we're all going to die at some point. Death doesn't discriminate. Death does not discriminate. They can come after T.I. or Perp alike. It's happened before. Perps have died too, with nobody shedding tears over their rancid corpse, okay? So T.I.s are going to die. Perps are going to die. Men, women, children die all the time, every single day. And how we die, I think, is what really kills us is how we die. It's not the fact that we're going to. We don't want to be murdered, and that's understandable. But again, if you really feel like you're about that life, then act. Act. Don't just sit by being afraid that you're going to die. Act. Do something. But if you're not that way inclined, like at certain point, you just have to make peace with the fact that we're in this for life. And that we have three choices. Either we live as best as we can, as peacefully as we can. Well, there are two other options, but I'm not going to go into those ones. But you know what to do. You know what the decision you have to make is. And those are hard decisions. But we're all going to die at some point. But dying this way, nobody wants to die this way. With cancers, fucking their whole body's riddled with cancer and fucking getting heart disease and shit. Nobody wants to die this way. I completely understand your fear. But we're all going to die. We can't control that. The only thing we can control is who we die as. We don't get to decide when we're born, and we don't get to decide when we die. The only thing we get to decide is who we live as and who we die as. And that's what we need to be focused on more than anything. You move through your pain. You don't try to stop it. You move through it. You know, when you accept the pain that you're in, you find a way to heal that pain. But you have to move through it. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. You have to move through with acceptance. That's the only way forward. Annie, I love you. I didn't know you as much as I could have done. I'm sorry we didn't meet. I'm sorry we only had a couple of conversations. But thank you so much for your support and your kindness. Thank you for being the absolute powerhouse that you were. And thank you for being a light to so many, even though you were going through so much yourself. And thank you for those eloquent words earlier, calling out the very people who were supposed to help us. I think questions need to be answered. So I love you so much, my fellow TIs. Please take care of yourselves. I don't need to tell you to be strong. You already are. You are already strong and you are already magnificent. I love you so much. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.